And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ken Garcia. I am the Senior Communications Manager here at NCCER, and we're here to talk about our updates to Plumbing Level 1. Joining us today is Doug Hancock, the Project Manager, and Gary Ferguson, the Technical Writer. So we're going to be going over all the great updates for our plumbing curriculum. Just as some housekeeping items, we do have the chat active as well as the Q&A. If you do have any questions, please try to put those in the Q&A section, but if you put them in the chat, we'll keep an eye on that as well, and we will do our best to answer questions at the end. We've got about 30 minutes with the guys. So what do you say we jump right in and learn a bit more? So Doug, take it away.
Super. Thanks a lot, Ken. So really excited here. Plumbing Level 1. This is the first major update in about 10 years. A lot of effort's gone into this. I think y'all will be really happy and pleased with what you see. We started with Level 1, which is the foundation of the craft. And yeah, let's, this is actually, if you want to take a look, go back, Ken. I didn't tell you to go ahead. This beautiful picture here is represents some of our efforts, just updating stuff. This is our cover photo, so you'll see this when you get the book. So now you can switch, Ken. So if you're not familiar, I'm sure most people are, but a little bit about NCCER. So we were founded in 1996. Our mission is to build a safe, productive, and sustainable workforce for the craft professionals. This came out of support from a bunch of large construction firms, and they saw a need for fulfilling some labor gaps and training. And that's kind of what what started NCCER. Now, what do? We develop standardized training. We do credentialing for the construction industry. Right now, we have about 70 assessments for the industry. We have over 6,000 accredited training sites, so plenty around. Go ahead, Ken. So plumbing, this is our 5th edition, right? Level 1. There's our beautiful cover photo. So key updates, we're going to kind of go through this, but if you can think about this, if we had 10 years there of growth and change in the industry, so what did we do? We went ahead and we updated everything to be as up to date as possible. So some of the new tools and techniques and methods that maybe weren't as prominent before are showcased even more now. New fixtures and fittings, photos and illustrations, a total overhaul. You're going to see lots of new imagery. We had some IPC, UPC code references. We were working with them, which was great. We have a fantastic new design, which you'll get a peek here coming up. Video content, lots of video content we'll talk about. And then the NCCER Connect materials. We've got a ton of extra materials that wasn't available before. So currently right now, the printed version is available, and our EText and NCCER Connect, all of the online materials, they should be completing out this fall. So it's in final tweaks and adjustments right now. So look forward to that.
Okay, yeah, so let me take it from here, Doug. Ken, thank you. So before we jump into looking at each of the mods, one of the things I want to just let you know a few things about this revision overall. And Doug mentioned a couple of them, but I'm going to kind of elaborate a little bit. He talked about ICC involvement. So we actually have, at this point, we have a total of 3 different ICC employees or people that work on the IPC book who have reviewed each of the mods. So that was a big change with this. We're really trying to be sure that we've taken into account all of the latest code. So you'll see that as you go through the changes. You'll also see new images throughout. Doug mentioned that as well. One of the things we did, and I'm hoping you'll really like this, we went off site to a couple different places, went to some job sites and went to some plumbing houses. And we got, while we were doing some videos, which we'll talk more about as we go on, we got a lot of photos. So there were a number of photos, as you know, you teach this stuff. So you saw some of the older images. You'll see those all updated in this one. And another thing we added was a little more focus on service and repair. That mentioned not only customers who have said that, but some of our SMEs. And so one of them in particular went through and looked at every module, from that service and repair perspective. So you're not going to see a lot of that, but you will see it'll be a little bit different perspective and some new material on, based on that service approach. And then finally, we updated all the tools. So obviously there's not a lot of big changes with tools for plumbing, but there were some changes. So where those occurred, we've added those, and we've added some, you'll see some more images compared to what you used to see. And then one other thing was the way it was laid out. So we did make some changes to the instructional design approach. So what that means is you're going to see some objectives. The objectives weren't really removed. You won't see any of that, but what you will see is they were brought up a level. And what that allows us to do, and hopefully allows you to do, is to focus more on those things that are important to each in each of the modules. So where we would have, a question for each objective before, now since some of those objectives or sub-objectives are brought up, you can focus it a little bit more on what you want to focus on. Ultimately, those objectives have to be fulfilled, but I think you'll like what you see. It's really brought it up, and it allows us to just focus on the important things in the exam or the test as well. So let's look at each of the mods. So introduction to the plumbing profession. We kept the history. The history is there. We did add a few things. We added some more green features, stuff like that, sustainability features. We still talk about the opportunities for plumbing, for plumbers. We talk about the associations that are out there, and then the human relation skills that are necessary to be successful as a plumber. Plumbing safety, as you know, safety is probably one of the most important things to NCCER. So we really focused on that, and some of the areas that you'll see a few changes in are really around the excavation, the trenching, those types of topics. We added some more stuff from OSHA in there, not a lot, but just a little more specific information. And also tools of the plumbing trade. As I mentioned earlier, not a huge change in the tools, but there are some blatant ones, such as cordless tools. We had a lot of corded stuff in the older version, so you'll see that all updated, and hopefully any other stuff, if they're new, any types of new compression stuff, you'll see that in there as well as some of the pipe holders and that type of thing. So all of those images have been updated in that one as well. Plumbing math. So for that one, one of the things you'll see in there is we tried to focus a little bit more on what the student is using today. So we understand that the students they're grabbing their phone, they're looking up, they're trying to solve these problems with some of the applications that are out there. So there are plumbing applications for math that are out there, construction applications. And we did talk a little bit more about that. And we kind of brought that into the whole math module. Next was the introduction to plumbing drawings. So for that one, what we've covered in the past. And so one of the things we've done, and we did this also for carpentry, is we're trying to eliminate some of the overlap that we have with core, where we talk about drawings and where we talk about drawings here. So where there was some overlap there, we tried to just be really specific on the drawings that pertain to plumbing and the types of things that plumbers will need to know as they're going through those drawings and trying to make sure everything is to spec. So you'll see just a few changes there as well. Plastic pipe and fittings. So again, we still cover the ABS, the PVC, CPVC, PE, PEX, and PV, but we're going to have, you'll also see a lot of new images in there. So when we were off site, we got a lot of great imagery in there. So that's still there. And as I mentioned, some of those objectives have been raised up a level, but you'll still have the overall, if you have a program that's focused on certain objectives now, those objectives at a higher level won't change. So copper tube and fittings still have, some of the primary ways with attaching and connecting copper tubing. We still focus on sweating. We still talk about compression, but we do have some of the newer tools in there as well. So all that imagery has been updated in that module. And then cast iron pipe and fittings. We have some really good relationships with Charlotte, with Victaulic. And so we've tried to update a lot of our images with their stuff. And so you'll see that. And hopefully you'll like what you see in that as well. Steel pipe and fitting, same things. We have some really good relationships with some of the vendors there and with some of the manufacturers. So we've updated that. And that particular one, you're going to see a lot more imagery from the shoot that I was telling you about, our photo shoot, where we went off site and we had some really good, along with those videos, we had some really good photos. So those are all in there as well. Plumbing fixtures, as you know, a lot of that's changed over the last 10 years. It just looks a little bit different in the way it functions. So everything from exploded views down to the actual fixtures themselves, we've replaced all those images, and where there were instructions with those that may have changed, we've updated those installation procedures as well. And then drain, waste, and vent and water distribution systems. Again, all of that imagery has been updated, and you'll see some new things there as well. But for the most part, those two haven't changed a lot other than the images. And anything else the SMEs tell us needs to change. So that's it for the changes to the specific changes to the modules themselves. As far as the new design, this is what Doug had alluded to that he'd be showing you. So hopefully you'll like this. One of the things we tried to do was give it more white space. So we understand that as you're reading through this, as a student is reading through this, you need to be able to kind of keep your place and keep track of that. So that white space, we're hoping that'll help you. But if you look at it overall too, you'll notice that there's a major column and then there's a minor column. So what do those allow us to do? Well, what that has allowed us to do, if you look over on that right side there on that page, you'll see a term. So it's a trade term, that ductile iron. Well, if you look to the right, that term is highlighted. You're used to seeing those types of things. You're used to seeing the terms highlighted, but what you're not used to seeing is the actual definition next to the term. So we did here, this is some of the things a lot of you have said that you wanted. So you didn't have to flip back and forth between the definitions and the term itself. So that's one of the big things you'll see is now all those terms are defined right there where they're first referenced in the material. There we go. So the other thing you'll see is notes. So it's a lot easier for us to put those notes into that side or that minor column. And what we did there is the idea is so it doesn't break up the text. As you know, you've seen our materials. And so sometimes those notes would break up the text. The other thing it would do is push the text down and even separate the reference from the reference in the text to the image itself. So we're trying to bring those two closer together. We did hear you on that. We have heard from a lot of people who said, you're always referencing on this page, but 3 pages later, you got the image. That's one of the reasons we went with this design as well. So those are some of the big reasons and the big thing. And the other part of this, if you look, is the color coding. So up at the top, each of those tabs, they're color coded, and that color kind of goes throughout each of the mods. So at any moment, you can kind of see where the mod begins and where it ends as you're teaching or as you're reading. So those are the biggies that you'll see as far as, but it's a very different look and feel for the layout now. And we hope you like that.
Yeah, Gary, the new design, I've heard nothing but great feedback on our other products that have come out with it, Core and the carpentry and such. So it's getting great feedback. Talking about new video resources here, this part I'm excited about. So just to give you a little background here, we've got the highlights, 23 instructional video topics, 2.5 hours of content, covers all modules, includes new method or tools. That's big highlights. We partnered with a large plumbing firm in Jacksonville, Florida. They were so nice they actually shut down their entire shop to accommodate and had tons of staff there. And we went with them and shot these 23 videos. And I actually kind of totaled it up just to give you guys the amount of effort. In a matter of a day, we used more than 150 hours of labor just on producing the shoots that we needed. But we have a new video team in NCCER. We're doing this for all of our crafts going forward. So expect to see this additionally done for level 2, 3, and 4. All of the video is 4K, so it's high resolution, and it goes everywhere from the basic PPE and ladder safety all the way up to, you know, the more advanced topics, like you could see the screenshots here of PE fusion and roll grooving of different materials. So it's going to be a nice additional resource for you and your students to utilize, so they can be more familiar with it before they even have to attempt the task. And you don't have to go out on YouTube to find a video of this. You can find it right inside the NCCER platforms that we have. So.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Doug. And yeah, so the videos, that's one big part of how we're changing. But the other part of this is NCCER Connect, and you guys are all familiar with that. But there are three key features here now that are new. So one is self-guided learning, the other is dynamic presentations, and the other is project-based learning. And if we could, let's look at self-guided learning first. So self-guided learning, so it's not intended, this, as we all know, is not intended to replace, you know, the reading, but what it does do, especially with this particular feature, is it allows them to preview or review prior to going to the class, or if there's something that they need to go back and look at, this allows them to do that. So all of this has been updated. And so this is now they can choose whether they want to study more or not, basically. You're on mute.
Thank you. I'm on mute. Dynamic presentations. So this is another new product we have for you. It's a scrollable version of the text. It's got optional sectional questions, interactivity, feedback. Think of it as an instructor, like an instructor resource for presentation. So you could use this to present to your class. And this is part of that NCCER Connect EText rollout that will be happening this fall.
Yeah. And speaking of EText, so that EText, again, what's nice about this, and this kind of incorporates, you're familiar with EText, but you are not familiar with some of the links that we're going to have now, which are going to be to videos and the other interactive figures. And so that's a new feature that we've added as well to the EText.
Another item you're going to see that's brand new, project-based learning. So on the screen here, you've got some screenshots, an example of one of the projects that we have for level 1. So these projects were kind of a collaboration between the SMEs, instructional designers, and technical writers. We all got together. We looked at, you know, what's being taught in the modules. We tried to provide a project for each module, at least one that was relevant and would be very helpful. So you have this as a resource to just go ahead and start with this. It has a materials list, tools list, step by step. We've got, as you can see, there's a photo there of an example of what's being assembled here with the pipe and fittings, but you also have schematics. So it's all works together, and you don't have to create it from scratch. So this is going to be a fantastic resource. I'm really excited about these. We have in level 1, I believe we have 7 of these. Some of the modules didn't lend themselves very well to having a project like this, but definitely you will be happy with the modules. It's deals with the different types of pipe types and everything. So very excited about the project-based learning for you all. So we've kind of shown you, we've talked about, you know, all the different mods, all the different updates. You've got really a lot of new content. It's going to be fresh, a new design. What is next, right? So we started with level 1, and obviously we're going to do the rest of it. So we are currently right now, level 2 has been, I guess I want to say it started its revision in February time, and we're kind of nearing the completion with text and art and buttoning that up. So our target is to have that completed in 2023 and ready for you. The same with level 3. That level 3 will roll out right by, you know, the revision will start right after level 2 completes, and then level 4 will do the same. So these are targets for us. Honestly, I'd love to see level 4 come out in 2023, and it's very possible, but that's a long ways out. We've got a lot of content to update, so we don't want to also put out a product when it's not completely ready for use. So very excited about this. So stay tuned for the other levels, which will be coming. That's all we have. Ken, take it. I'm sure we got some questions, right?
Believe it or not, we don't have any quite yet. So again, if anybody has any
Oh.
questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. You can also put them in the Q&A. We're keeping an eye on those as well. So while we wait to see if any questions come in, could you talk again just a little bit about some of those new features, like really quick, the project based? Well, that's a pretty new thing that we have.
Yeah, so that project base, it's fantastic. I think it was, Gary, you can correct me, but I believe it was carpentry when we first started that, the last level of carpentry, and the feedback has been great so far on that from what I've heard. I was excited, and it was really nice to work with all the SMEs and go through the process. I mean, we had a gigantic list we started with, and we sorted through it and refined it and got down to what really they felt was most important, and then worked with them on providing all of the content to support it. So no, it's going to be good stuff. I'm excited about it. It's actually that and the videos. Those are the two things I'm like really excited about with this update.
And this isn't so much a question. They just wanted to say everything looks good. Nice to see the updated pictures, tool pictures specifically, and the project-based learning. So they seem to like that. We do have a question here. You can mention, you mentioned spending more time on what we as instructors deem important. Does that mean you have removed what I call fluff from your testing?
Yes, so let me answer that question. So at a lot of our SME meetings, we would get a lot of feedback like that. And to your point, Michael, yeah, we heard it, and the questions were, why do you ask those kind of questions when you don't need to, and it doesn't really matter. So what that was being caused by was we kind of have and most of the instructors understand this, for every objective, we have to kind of teach that, and we have to ask questions on that. And we realized that quickly. So that was part of the restructuring that I mentioned. And yes, it does. It will allow you to get rid of, and hopefully it allowed us to get rid of some of the fluff and really focus in on those questions that the SMEs told us were important, and the topics that were important, and get rid of some of that stuff in the test that you're going to see. And those questions that really what you're referring to here is fluff. So understand completely.
What code?
Wait, hold on,
Yep.
Ken. Gary, to just jump in on that, I do want to say, if you, as you are instructors, you are teaching this material, if you feel there is something that you would like to suggest be pulled out or interpreted a different way, go ahead and submit that to us. We compile all that, and when we are doing a revision, we consider all that, and we bring it to our SME panels, and we discuss it and look at everything that's involved. So we're right now wrapping up 2. So get your books out. We've got level 3 and level 4 happening. If you've got any suggestions, we want to hear from you as well too. So let us know. If we don't hear from you, we're going to try our best, right, with the information we have at hand. So definitely send that to us.
Yeah, Doug, that's a good point. Just to let the listeners know, we do that. When I started this revision, one of the first things we grabbed were the corrections and the recommendations that had come in that Doug was mentioning. So we do look at that closely, and as a result, you're going to see some of these changes.
And if you look in the chat, Brad from our outreach and engagement team put in a link so you can sign up to actually be a subject matter expert. So if you want to help us out, that's one way that you can get involved. One question someone missed the first few minutes, wanted to know, what code are we using in the updated textbooks? Yeah,
so it was reviewed with the IPC and the UPC in mind. Those are the 2 biggies that we looked at.
The curriculum is designed for professionals. Does it address the progression towards licensure?
You want me to take that? I'll take it since there's silence. Yeah, so we did have, okay, so a lot of discussion with the SMEs. This kind of, is on the back end of that last question about code, right? What code do you follow? Well, we're a national curriculum, so code's different everywhere. So is licensure. So where it doesn't really align real well, we can't specifically address that, because this can be taught everywhere. So it doesn't specifically go towards, you to pass a specific test. We did have, though, we had some folks on our SME panel that definitely help teach to pass exams. I'm thinking of Win. He was with us, and he, in Texas, he helped a lot of people pass tests. He was on our SME panel, and a lot of the content and a lot of the feedback he brought was to get us better aligned and make sure we're preparing people as best as we can for that. But you understand, it's a national curriculum. It could be taught anywhere, and there's not that much alignment with all the municipalities and states quite yet. Maybe one day that'll happen.
The videos you mentioned, Doug, are they going to be on NCCER Connect, or are those the ones that are linked to the QR codes within the book?
So they're going to be in NCCER Connect in various areas linked up, but the QR codes that are in the front, the QR codes will be in the front of each module. The QR code will direct you to a page where we have all the resources that you need. So like I'm working on the electrical revision right now, and we're going to have fillable forms that are going to be there as a resource. So for plumbing, you're going to have all your videos there that the students can and the instructors can dive into. But that actually, let's make this ask again. We're doing videos for all 4 levels. So if there's something that you teach, right, or your instructors teach, that you have to go out and find a video somewhere, and you have to do it every single time, if you let us know, we will make the effort to provide that resource so you don't have to hunt and peck and find where it is. We want to provide that to you. So definitely give us that feedback. Let us know what you would like to have, and we can target that going forward.
Hey, Ken,
yeah.
There is one other question I wanted to answer while we still have time. So about the tankless water heaters, are they going to be a priority? So just to let you know, you guys know that we cover water heaters in the next level, in level 2. So we have already started working on that. And yes, we actually did a whole photo shoot on tankless water heaters at a particular restaurant. So that is, we're putting much more emphasis on that now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gary and Doug, for your time today. And thank you to everybody who joined us. If we weren't able to get to your questions, and we will try to get some information, we will send those out. Because you attended, you'll be getting this recording. So yes, this was recorded. We will be sending it to you. It will also be on nccer.org. So if you have any other questions, that's where you can get a hold of us. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.